Rain diamond, so all my girls in the world could keep shrining. From princess cuts to emeralds to H classes. Yeah, I failed math, but better pass the E class. Went from Chanel number 5 to 2.5. The Melrose resident. Every room's a president with the living rate. Bet y'all haters can't match that. You 6 digits short to catch that. The net year gross is 20,000 on commission. My net week gross 100 mil in addition to the Dow Jones stocks rest.
Okay, let me tell y'all the story of how my, what you say, hold on. This is story time. So let me tell y'all a story of how my then 8-year-old daughter saved my life and subsequently saved the life of my son as well. I'll take it back. I'll take it back to when my daughter was 6 years old. She started having seizures. The seizures just started out of nowhere. It always happened when she was asleep. And we have no clue why they started, how they started, or what reasoning it was behind, the seizures. She had MRIs done. She had CAT scans done. We could not find any cause, any reason for these seizures to be happening. So at 6 years old, 5 or 6, something along those lines, the doctor prescribed her phenobarbital. So she was taking phenobarbital, and while taking phenobarbital, she would always sleep. Like the medicine would knock her completely out. And I mean, put her to sleep. You could not wake her up. You couldn't shake her. You couldn't move her. Like, you could lift her and she would not wake up at all. So this started, when she was 5 or 6 years old. So we're going to fast forward. She kept having seizures throughout the years. And of course, we kept running tests to find out. They couldn't tell me, where it was coming from. And we were consistent with the doctor's visits, making sure that we stayed up on it. Because again, she had the most dangerous ones, and your most deadliest ones was, her having them while she was asleep. So, we're gonna fast forward to, a couple of years later when she was 8 years old. And even with her having these seizures, I was going through a bout of, a time of depression. As I look back in my life, I had so many different times where I was really, really, really depressed. And, my depression, like, I was battling. But I was also battling with depression because I was raped. And, because of what my stepdad did to me, it caused me to be on a slippery slope emotionally. And, I was battling with myself and, fighting with myself and, willing to hurt myself, So, when my daughter was 8 years old, I used to I couldn't sleep at the time. And so I started taking Tylenol PM, and I was popping those things like they were Skittles. So I would take the Tylenol PM so that I can sleep at night. She would sleep completely through the night, but I would be up pacing back and forth, and I couldn't sleep. So I started taking Tylenol PM. But this one particular night, I took I was sitting on the edge of the bed, and I was at my wit's end. And I was like, I was crying so hard. And I couldn't really understand, like, why my life was where it was. And I was so depressed and so down, and I lived for so long for my daughter. And I kept saying, even through my depression, I have my daughter to live for. I have a reason to live. She is my reason to live. I justified, not taking my life by having her as my reason, having her as my purpose, having her as my justification. And at this point, well, she was 8 years old. And then I was like, at this point, I just didn't care anymore. I was in pain. I was hurting. I wasn't physically in pain, but I was mentally and emotionally in pain. And I was hurting bad. So I was taking Tylenol PM, and I had the bottle in my hand. I poured all the pills in my hand, and I was crying so hard. And I said, God, if it's not meant for me to do this, you would send me a sign right now. And I'm sitting there and I'm crying and I'm literally like, I'm so emotional. I mean, I got snats coming out and everything. I mean, literally, like, I was crying. And as I stated, my daughter always slept. And at that point, I didn't even care that my daughter would be the one who found me, because my daughter, it was just me and my daughter living in an apartment at this time. And I just gave up on life. I gave up on everything at that point. So I didn't even care that, you know, if I had taken all of these pills, that my daughter would be the one who would find me, and the emotional roller coaster that would send her through in life. I didn't, at that point, it was just all about, it was no longer living for her. It was just dying for me. That's what I felt. So I took these, you know, I poured all the pills in my hand. And I'm sitting on the edge of the bed, and I'm praying to God, and I'm like, please, please, God, please, if it's just not meant for me to do, then please, just you'll send me a sign. You'll send me a sign right now, you know. And just then, you know, my daughter turned over, and she said, "Mommy, it's gonna be okay." And I looked back, because as I stated, when my daughter took this phenobarbital, she was knocked out. She had never waken up in the middle of the night. I mean, I could pick her up off the couch and lay her in the bed, and she's fast asleep, completely asleep until the next morning. I could pick her up out the car and take her in the house, and she's knocked out sleep. She didn't hear anything. She wouldn't move. She wouldn't take her clothes off, put her in the bed, you know, things of that nature. And she would be knocked out sleep. So when she turned over and said, "Mommy, it's going to be okay," I knew, I took it at that moment that was God's way of telling me that this that I was doing was not meant to be. This that I was doing was not the purpose for my life. So, of course, I'm crying, and I wipe my face. And, I mean, I didn't boo-hoo. I stopped. I'm telling her, like, midstream, like, and I turn around and I look, and she was like, "Mommy, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay." And she turned back over and she went to sleep. And when she turned back over and went to sleep, I was just stuck. I had the pill still in my hand. And I'm stuck, and I'm just looking. I'm looking at her. And I took the pills and I poured them back in the bottle. And I closed the bottle. And I got on the phone, and I immediately called my little sister. And I was like, "Hey, Princess, I need you to keep muffin for me, cause I gotta go, you know, I gotta go do something real quick." And normally, you know, my sister would be like, "Man, I'm not gonna keep," or "She ain't," you know. But this particular time, it was like, "Okay, just bring." It was like 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and she was like, "Okay, just bring her. Just come on, bring her up here." You know, all of the things were in line for me to take care of myself and handle what I needed to handle to get myself right. So I put her clothes on. You know, again, she knocked out sleep. I dressed her, put her clothes on, took her up to my sister's house, dropped her off at my sister's house, and took myself and checked myself into the hospital. Told them that I felt like I wanted to harm myself. And when I did that, you know, they you know, took my shoestrings, took my belt. You know, I didn't expect these things to happen, but they took my shoestrings, took my belt, you know, told me, you know, that, you know, they gave me something for me to rest. They didn't want to give me anything strong, but they gave me something to, you know, calm my nerves. They put me in a room on the 4th floor of the hospital at Piedmont. So they put me on the 4th floor. So they made me do a urine, they ran blood, they did all this stuff that, you know, I guess they do when they check people in. And the next morning, they came in and they woke me up. And it was like, you know, the counselor wants to see you, you know, to talk to you or whatever. I'm like, okay, cool. So I came out to go talk to the counselor. But at this point, I'm still, you know, I'm crying. Because I'm like, you know, I couldn't understand, like, why, you know, or how my daughter was able to wake up just long enough to get that message across. I couldn't understand how, you know, she woke up out her sleep and knew or felt, or that message was just passed through her at that particular moment. I just couldn't understand, but I know the tears just wouldn't stop. And I was just in disbelief. And all I could say is, but God. That's all I could say. Like, God, there's a purpose. There's something, you know. And I'm walking down the hall to get to the counselor's office. And as I get to the counselor's office, they tell me, okay, come on, Ms. Washington, can you come on in and sit down? So I come in and, you know, I sit down. And they said, well, how are you feeling? You know, I told them, well, you know, I'm just down. You know, I don't understand. They said, well, what brought you in here? And I explained to them everything that I just explained to you. You know, I was just at my wit's end, and I felt like I just wanted to harm myself. I didn't want to be here anymore. And, you know, I just decided that I just didn't want to do it anymore. So I told them that I was ready to take the whole bottle of sleeping pills. And then they said, well, we have some news for you. And I said, okay. And they said, well, we did your blood work and we did your urine, and we found that you're pregnant. And that's how I found out I was pregnant with my son. So not only did my daughter save my life, but she saved my son's life too. So I say this to say that miracles are real. Miracles are possible. And when you call on God, God come through. And you know that saying that he may not come when you want him to, but he always on time. That's absolutely factual. Because at that moment, it was right on time. I didn't, and even to this day, and my daughter she'll be 30 this year. My son will be 22 this year. Even to this day, I don't know the miracle or understand the miracle of what or how my daughter woke up and turned to me and said that it's going to be okay. I don't understand what and how she woke up from that medication to tell me that it's going to be okay. But what I do understand is that the purpose that is in this life that I live, and the purpose and the will and the love and the compassion that I have and I feel, I love my kids. I love my daughter. You know, I love my daughter. I love my daughter. And after finding out that I was pregnant with my son, they couldn't give me any medication or anything. They just said that it was the pregnancy hormones that had me, you know, kind of the chemicals had my brain kind of mixed up, so on and so forth. So I was on the emotional roller coaster. So, you know, with that being said, that's exactly what was going on. Okay? Hold on. Hey, my fault. I had to move the car up because Rhonda ran into school, asked me to sit behind the wheel. She had to run into school and talk to them about the helmet giveaway that she doing for the nonprofit. So I had to move the car up a little bit, you know. So so like I was saying, I absolutely love my kids, and I'm very grateful and very appreciative of everything that I'm able to obtain. I'm sorry. I'm looking at my neighbors and the dogs out here chasing the kid. The dogs out here chasing the kids. It's dangerous. It's dangerous out here. So I apologize. Like I was saying. So again, I love my kids, absolutely, and I also, you know, want to say that if anybody is feeling suicidal, or if you feeling like you want to hurt yourself or anybody else, they do have a hotline that you can contact. a national suicide hotline. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it. I think everybody in this world has a purpose, and I don't think that, I don't think that your life will end until your purpose has ended, or until your purpose has been fulfilled. Um, I am an adamant believer that everything happens for a reason. I am, and in my instance, in my case, it happened because it just wasn't meant. It was meant for my son to be here. It was meant for, you know, for my life to be where it is right now, you know. So, man, at that point, I was, let's see, I was 17 when I had my daughter. I was 25, 26 when I had my son. So, I was 11 and 12 when I was being raped. And from then on, all the way through every chapter of my life, all the way up until I can honestly say like my 30th birthday, when I really started to speak out on what was going on with me. Like, like just honestly speak out to everyone and just not care who felt what and why they felt that way about what I was saying. So I'll just say, just don't give up. Don't give up on you. Don't give up on life. Don't give up on hope. Don't give up. There's a purpose for you. There is. Love you. Love you beyond a shadow of a doubt. Like, love you. I mean, I'm here. I'm here to say that there's life beyond that moment. There is life beyond that moment. There is life beyond that sitting with pills in your hand ready to take the bottle. There's life beyond the having the weapon in your hand and up to your head and ready to pull the trigger. There's life beyond that point. You just have to put your faith somewhere. And I chose to put my faith in God. So, I say this to say, live in your purpose. Live with purpose. Love yourself first and foremost. And even if you choose to live for someone else, don't choose to die for you. Okay? Because like I said before, I was living for my daughter, but I chose to die for myself. And it was just me being selfish. So I say all this to say, thank you. I am very thankful. I thank my daughter. I thank God first. But I thank my daughter. Absolutely. Because, through her, God spoke through her. God definitely spoke through her, and I listened. The most important thing that I did was listen. I asked for the sign, and the sign came. So with that being said, I see y'all next time. I greatly appreciate y'all stopping through. Keep watching. I got more stories to tell. So, I'm going to put something up about, the suicide hotline. I'm going to, put something up, phone number, some contact information. All right. Thank y'all for watching. I'll see y'all again next time.